Grand Master of the Jedi Order, the Avatar of Light, the greatest adversary the dark side has ever known. Before the fall of the Republic and the rise of the Galactic Empire, Master Yoda was the most renowned Jedi of his era, surpassed by none, second to none, the wisest and most powerful in peace and war. For centuries, Yoda would hold a seat on the Jedi High Council, training some of the best Jedi the Order had to offer, including such individuals as Obi-Wan Kenobi, Count Dooku, and of course, Luke Skywalker. His most intense passion and potent desire was to teach. When one has almost 900 years of wisdom, this would seem to be the logical aspiration. Unfortunately, Yoda's twilight years would exist in conflict and turmoil rather than instruction and enlightenment. The Jedi Order's greatest adversary, Darth Sidious, contrived a war that would spread the Jedi too thin, tearing at their moral fiber, eventually extinguishing them altogether with a single directive: Order 66. Yoda would survive the Great Jedi Purge, banishing himself to the swamps of Dagobah until A New Hope arrived. Years later, his tutelage and guidance would lead that New Hope to thwart the dark side once more, helping to bring balance to the Force and peace for the Grand Master. Born to the perilous Outer Rim on a desolate planet named Mapatras, Dessel, later known as Darth Bane, would begin his long journey as one of the most powerful Sith in their history. Forged by the courteous minds of his homeworld, Bane was as spiteful as he was cruel. When Bane was almost middle-aged, he escaped his homeworld, enlisting with the Brotherhood of Darkness as a common foot soldier. He would lead the Brotherhood to many victories, eventually recognized by the Sith Lords as a Force sensitive. Bane would be taken into the Sith Academy, where he quickly climbed to the top of his class before he became disillusioned to the Order and its teachings. Eventually, he would sever ties with the Brotherhood, destroying their leader and all of its students, before creating his own Sith Order, a Sith Order that followed a rule of two: a master and an apprentice, one to embody the power, the other to crave it. Eventually, he would succumb to his own rule of two, expiring at the hands of his apprentice, Darth Zana. But Darth Bane would remain present with the Sith Order for a millennia, established as the foretold Sithari of legend, the Sith Lord that would lead them and destroy them, a perfect zenith of the dark side. Though I usually assess each character in their prime, this video will be a bit different. Because Yoda's prime has never been depicted in any sources, it would be far too speculative of me to say when it was. Though we do know for sure that it was long before we see him in the movies. For the purposes of this video, and to lay out some ground rules, this will be Yoda as we saw him in Revenge of the Sith. For Darth Bane, I will be observing him as he appeared in Dynasty of Evil, without his Orbilis armor. Grandmaster Yoda was a species of an unspecified origin. Standing at a little over 2 feet tall, his lack of reach and stubby limbs forced him to rely on his speed and dexterity. In his natural state, he walked a slow pace, supported by a customary old man gimmer stick. It would be his use of the Force, specifically in regards to his Force augmentation, that would allow him to achieve feats that far surpassed his years. During a sparring session, while unarmed, he was able to evade Plo Koon, Saesee Tiin, and Deepa Billaba, 3 highly skilled Jedi Masters within the Order, showcasing his masterful agility. Again, in his natural state, Master Yoda was but a feeble old creature, yet when he utilized the Force, he could strengthen himself to lock blades with the likes of Count Dooku and Darth Sidious, even trading physical blows with the Dark Lord. He could also withstand physical trauma, as indicated by his 100-yard drop in Revenge of the Sith. His tiny size was both a curse and a blessing. His stature, coupled with his evasive speed, were more than difficult to make contact with, but his stubby arms made it difficult to be effective in combat. However, his range does not seem to have been a huge handicap against his opponents, compensating with his overwhelming acceleration. Darth Bane was a middle-aged human man standing over 6 feet tall. Though I see Bane as a brawler first and foremost, he eventually refined his imposing figure. The cruel minds of his homeworld would craft his body into steel rock, giving him astounding strength even without the Force. With the dark side, his brawn would go unmatched by any of his day. He was battered by the minds of Apatros, battered by the students of the Sith Academy, able to withstand large amounts of physical pain, whether it be Force lightning, poison, or trauma. His greatest display of pain tolerance would come by way of his Orbilis armor, as depicted in Rule of 2. Though Bane's use of Orbilis would grant him instant healing abilities with greater strength and speed, it cost him a constant stream of pain, a pain he withstood for nearly a decade. In short, Darth Bane made pain his absolute bitch. This focused vigor and might did not hamper his speed, however. Granted, it was always Bane's MO to outmuscle his opponents. Still, he has demonstrated a skill with speed and evasion, capable of evading a rainstorm for 10 minutes without getting wet. That being said, Bane was a brawler at his core, brutal but effective. While Bane certainly gets an edge in his natural physical abilities, this is a contest of Force wielders who have Force augmentation as a viable source. With that in mind, Yoda has shown greater ability to wield Force augmentation than Bane. Yes, Bane did evade a rainstorm for several minutes, but Yoda can match the speeds of Darth Sidious, one who moves so fast he seemed to flicker in and out of existence. While Bane could do more serious damage to Yoda if he landed a punch or kick, he'd be hard-pressed to do so. His brawling style would be effective against most opponents, but against a little green blur, it will be difficult to make contact. By contrast, Yoda could outmaneuver and evade, swiping at Bane's joints, his elbows, his knees, his ankles. Even so, it would only take one good hit from Bane to do serious damage to Yoda. For this, I deem both Yoda and Darth Bane as equals in regards to their physical abilities. Yoda was easily the strongest Force user of the Jedi Order, perhaps second only to Darth Sidious, though they were more on par than anything else. His powers with the Force were so extensive, he was capable of touching the minds of each Jedi member. He was so attuned to his peers that he could even see through their own eyes when the Force was clear enough to do so. During Anakin Skywalker's rampage and Attack of the Clones, Yoda could feel his pain from light years away. During the execution of Order 66, Yoda could feel the deaths of each Jedi member, causing himself major distress. His use of telepathy would even extend to mind manipulation, being an absolute master of the Jedi mind trick, including the ability to wipe one's memories entirely. But Yoda's abilities with the Force did not stop with telepathy and empathy. He was an extremely competent opponent in combat as well. Offensively, Yoda utilized battle meditation, which enabled him to bolster his own strength and dampen the power of his foes. This was a fantastic ability, especially during the Clone Wars, but it would be his complete mastery of telekinesis that would set him above and beyond. Even in his old age, Well outside of his prime, Yoda could lift an X-Wing with very little effort. Though his extraordinary powers waned in old age, when he turned 700 years old, he was still able to lift 5 of the 7 Muntor stones, each of them weighing several tons. In combat, he could match the likes of Dooku and Sidious, the former being one of the most gifted users of telekinesis. During the Clone Wars, he could destroy whole transports of Trade Federation vehicles, throwing back whole armies with his Force Wave. However, I should make a note that this feat comes from the Clone Wars micro-series, which admittedly was a bit embellished. Still, this showing is probably not far from the truth, as Yoda was capable of pulling an X-Wing out of a swamp well outside his prime. Defensively, Yoda was capable as well. He took Tuda Minis to its highest degree, repelling the powerful Force lightning of Count Dooku and stalemating Darth Sidious. He was also adept with Force Precog. While this was a common ability among Force users, Yoda's use of it was so fast and so astute that he could move without his own conscious thought. Yoda was also an expert of Force Cloak, even when one was actively looking for his Force signature. Yoda's potential in the Force was so immense, Darth Tyrannus said if he turned to the dark side, he could have annihilated even the likes of Darth Sidious. But as it is, he was an avatar of the light, the greatest enemy the dark side has ever seen. He may not have had the destructive power of the Sith, but he had a great ally in the Force. His connection to it was so great, he could even transcend the physical world as a Force spirit, living on for the many generations of Jedi to come.